Now, Rosie, I haven't been to Poland, but I've been to the States, and there are millions and millions of Polish people in the US. They came over at the just before the First World War for coal mining, and they stayed, and they brought their cuisine. And one of the things you can always get in the US is Polish pierogies. They're on just about every menu.
All right.
And it's really, really easy to make. I mean, you've got to make a dough to start with because that's what it is. It's a dumpling, so we make a lovely dough, and I've got a great recipe for it. Now, in the bowl there, I've got a fork for you, Rosie.
Yep. That means I'm going to have to do something, isn't it?
You're going to crack 3 eggs. So I'll grab these 3 eggs here and I'll crack them straight into the bowl. I want you to start mixing them up so they're nice and mixed together. The trick with this dough that I'm making is I get everything, all the wet ingredients together in a bowl, and then I put it into the flour.
It's the simplest way, isn't it?
It's easy peasy. There we go. And in goes some water, so half a cup of water. And to make it even more delicious, I'm going to put half a cup of sour cream in there.
Oh, delicious.
In goes the sour cream. And if you don't want sour cream, you can also use some yogurt. That's quite delicious. Or just some plain old cream to make it luscious and flavoursome.
I think the tartness will be lovely with this.
Now, in my bowl here, I have 3 cups of plain flour, and I'll make a well in the centre of it. I'm using a large bowl like this so you can actually get your hand in there and mix it around. Now, of course, some salt goes in there, a good pinch of salt all the way around. Now, Rosie, I'm going to get you to pour that into the centre there.
Got it.
It looks like a really good scrambled egg mixture. Now, I should use a fork to mix that around, but you know what? I like doing it by hand.
Yeah, feel the food.
Exactly. You want to make a nice, smooth dough. Now, one of the things I do have is just a little bit of flour. And if I think it's a little bit wet, I think it is, I'll just add a little bit more flour.
You always carry that around, don't you?
I do. I carry it around
Back
everywhere.
pocket.
Exactly. Always have some plain flour ready to go. Now, at this stage here, I'll just put it onto the board. So I'm going to lift up the bowl, Rosie, and you're going to dust the bottom of the board here with some flour. That'll stop it from sticking. Come on, let it go there. That's it. Put it on there. Use it like you stole it. And on goes the bowl there. Now, this is the fun part, Rosie. I'll just pop this behind here like this. I just get it like this and knead it nice and gently. You want to combine everything without overworking it. You can see it comes together beautifully. Now, if you've got a bit of the dough on your fingers, at this stage here, once you've got the dough together, just rub your fingers together.
The millionaire's rub.
Is that what you call it? Oh,
That's
I got
one.
that. Well, I don't know what millionaires rub their hands, but if I'll take your word for it. And I just knead it like this so that all of those little bits of dough go into the actual big dough here like this. And you can see it's coming together nice and smoothly. We've got that great colour that we like, and it's a nice little ball. It's got a little bit of ridges on the outside here, so I'll use some of this flour here just to dust the top of it. And then, Rosie, I'm just going to pop this right up the front here. I'll grab some Glad Wrap over the top here and cover it up. We want to let it rest for a couple of minutes at least, and that's going to give us time to make the filling. Pop that on like that, and then, you know what? I'll clean this up and then we'll get on to the filling.
I thought you were going to make me clean it.
No, I'll do it. Give that a pat like that. Looks great, doesn't it? Nice and soft.
That lovely yellow colour from the eggs.
Now, Rosie, I've got these potatoes here and I've boiled them and I just peel the skin. Now, I like to boil my potatoes with the skin on. I find that it stops the moisture from getting in there. More potato and less water goes in there. Now, that's just going to pop like that. Now, that'll just peel off there like that. Really, really easy to do. Now, if you have got a compost or a chook pen outside...
I was going to say that. Don't throw that fibre away, please.
No, put it over there. I've got one of those twirly compost machines that you keep putting things into. My dogs just hang around underneath it. They love all the gooey stuff that drips onto them. They smell to high heaven, but, you know, they love it. Now, this is a ricer. You can use a masher, whatever you've got. You can even use a fork. I like the way it comes out of the bottom here like this.
It's the best, isn't it?
It's like potato spaghetti, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Now, Rosie, I've got a block of cheese over there. If you can grate that for me, I probably need about half a cup of that. Now, just squeeze that like this. Potato rice is great for mashed potato, for making gnocchi, for making pierogi filling. Now, I'll pop this potato into here. Now, I'm using Fontaine cheese, but really, you can use any cheese you want. Some cottage cheese, some ricotta cheese. Have a look at the potato. It comes out beautifully like that. And some Parmesan. I've got half a cup of Parmesan in that goes there like that. Now, have a look at that cheese, Rosie. I think that's about enough.
Okay.
So I'll grab that and pop that into there. Now, there's a little bit of a fork there. If you can grab that fork. I want you to mix all the cheese and the potato together.
With pleasure.
While you're doing that, I'll put some salt in there. A nice big pinch of salt because you want lots of flavour from the inside. Really, really important. And while you're doing that, some pepper. I'm using black pepper But if you don't want the specks of the pepper going all the way through it, you could, of course, use some white pepper. Now, while you're mixing that around, Rosie, I'll just grab a few of these chives. I reckon I'll put a little bit of green in the middle of it. Now, I know it's not traditional to do that, but you know this isn't a traditional kitchen. We're sort of taking it sort of to the left.
There's nothing traditional about this kitchen at all. Do you know what? I love that you've done a vegetarian dish, because often when you go to that part of the world, you think vegetarians get a bit nervous and think they're not going to have many options to eat, but there's actually loads to eat.
Now, you're going to mix that around. We'll clean this up. We'll get ready to roll out the dough and finish off this one. This will be great. You keep mixing, Rosie. I'll just watch. Look at that dough there. Dusted board. Looks good.
Looks real good. I'm excited.
A little bit of flour on the top. I like to have a little bit of flour all over it because it rolls out nice and evenly. Look at this dough. You know, it doesn't need that long to rest if you make it by hand. No. A good 4 or 5 minutes, but the longer you rest it, the better, of course. Now, with a rolling pin, I just carefully go around like this, turn it on its side there, and then push it. Now, when you're rolling out a dough like this, you want to make sure that you roll it out fairly evenly.
And if you don't have a rolling pin, a bottle of wine does the trick absolutely perfectly too.
Yes. Another thing you could also use is a roll of Glad wrap.
I have not done that.
Or you could actually cut off a broom handle. I've used that before. Roll it out with a broom handle.
I think we've just created a new show.
Exactly. How to use a broom handle in multiple ways. I'll dust it with a little bit of flour. Not too much flour, just a little bit. And I'll brush off the excess like this. OK, Rosie, I've just rolled out this last little bit, and I'll show you how thick I want it. I want it about 1/4 centimetre thick.
Yep.
You know, like really thick pasta dough. Go all the way through there like that, make sure it's nice and even. Now, I think I've got that just about all the way through there. And I've got a little cutter here, a little round cutter.
Yep.
You could use a glass and pop the glass on there and cut around it with a knife, but these are fairly cheap to buy. So if you grab a couple of these, you'll be able to use it for lots of different things. Now, Rosie, I'll just cut this one out here.
Yep.
And I'll show you what I do. I grab the outside of it like this, and we'll bring the filling over. I grab a spoonful of filling, and you want to make sure you put a fair bit of filling in there because you want to make it nice and full. And I'll just make a little ball there like that, pop it into the middle. It looks like way too much, but this is my trick. You want to try and stretch the dough over the filling so it doesn't come out there like that, and just push it together. It is quite a soft dough, so if you do it nice and gently, you can make this nice little filling, pinch it all off, go around the outside like that till you make sure it's all pinched off nicely. And that's it. That's
a Polish
pierogi.
pasty.
Exactly. All we have to do is make another 25 of these and we're done.
Oh.
Rosie's pierogi time. I have my onions and garlic in the pan here with some olive oil. I'm going to sweat them off till they become nice and caramelised. I've got my pot of boiling water. Now I'll just make some salt action go in there, make it nice and flavoursome, and pierogies are ready to go.
There's a lot of them, isn't there?
Ah, there are. Now these will go into the actual water here. They take about 4 to 5 minutes to cook. You've just basically got to cook the outside, which is the pastry or the dough. The inside's already cooked, but you need to make it hot, of course. Now, the onions are frying there because usually the pierogies we would serve with onions, either chopped onions or fried onions caramelised. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to caramelise the whole lot together. In they go. Now, you know the pierogies are cooked because they'll float to the top. That'll be 4 or 5 minutes. Hopefully, these onions wouldn't have overcooked or over-caramelised. I will stir them a little bit to make sure that they don't stick together. They look gorgeous. This looks gorgeous. You look gorgeous, and so do I. A couple of minutes, and this will all be ready. Look at that, Rosie.
Pop to the surface.
And ready to go. Now, my pan is nice and hot. The onions are caramelising. I lift out the pierogies like this, and I'm going to pop them into the pan. Look at that.
A bit of colour on them.
I want to get a bit of colour on them, exactly. And I'll just get you to cut a bit of that butter, Rosie, and pop it in there. Don't worry if you get a little bit of the water going into the pan as well. That'll help the pierogies. Now, the rest of the pierogies, I've got a bowl here. I'll pop them straight into the bowl here like this. I'll put a bit of olive oil on top of them so they don't stick together. Now, pop the butter straight in there, Rosie, and I'll just stir that round a little bit. You can already see it's starting to get a little bit of colour. I'll let that fry for a couple of minutes till it becomes nice and golden all the way around. The onions will be caramelised. We'll put some herbs into it and plate it up. This will be delicious.
It will.
Rosie, look at that. Nice colour and lots of butter in there. I'll just put those pierogies in there. You can see the caramelised onions. I have gone for it. There is a lot of truth in that. Now, you can see the other pierogies that have been boiled or steamed pierogies. I'm going to pour a little bit of butter over the top of it.
Nice.
With some caramelised onions. I'll put some chives and some thyme on top of it to give it a bit of colour. And of course, you can't have pierogi without sour cream. And we need a nice big dollop of that. In comes the spoon. Yeah, that's a Rosie serve over there that hasn't been fried, right in the middle. And then the Richo one, we just pour it. We use the vessel to help the sour cream go on top of it.
It's never been so black and white, just the differences between you and I.
Fried pierogi for me, steamed pierogi for you, Rosie. Now tuck into that. I'm just going to get straight into it. You can see the filling in there. It's going to be red hot. I'll dip it in the sour cream to cool it down because that's what the sour cream is for, to cool it down and for flavour. Isn't it great? Got that potato, that filling in there, the cheese in there as well, a little bit of herb in there, and I love the caramelised onions in the butter. Recommended pro tip is to cool it down for a couple of minutes before you eat it, but that is great.
I wasn't sure what I was going to think, but that's delicious. You season it beautifully as well, the salt and pepper. It's absolutely delicious. Bit of a sometimes food, I would say, but I'm pretty sure you would have to disagree.
Sometimes every week, I think.